X future, a very important theme, a provocative one actually, and a repetitive X future question by students all the years that I've been as a university professor for the last 20 years. There are some questions that we need to ask. What is this X future? Why do we need to discover our X future? And how can we find our X future? As long as it's a futuristic matter, it's difficult and beyond human capacity, normally speaking. If it's happiness, final end, peace, success, prosperity, it's our right to direct our life in the right path towards that end and not to waste time. How to find our X future. I'll be discussing this matter with you today in the hope of leaving you with some thoughts that are worthwhile to reflect on. So, if it's happiness, do I need to search for happiness? And what is the cost of searching for happiness? Some people say mistakes are fine and are considered as the tax for learning. Trial and error is acceptable and justifiable in order to learn something and then find my way, my X future eventually. Is that true in this era? To make mistakes until I find my way and I find my X future. Do I have a time machine to go to the future and find out what's going to happen to me and where's my X future? Or is it more reasonable to try to bring the future to today and then look into it how much I can actualize this future in a way or another, predict it in the right sense? These are valid questions, ladies and gentlemen. We need to ask ourselves the sooner the better in our lives, given that we have limited time and limited resources. Can we be this superhuman being? If that's our X future, it's our right, yes, to be the superhuman being. The happy, prosper person, the useful person to his or her society, by large senses of values and happiness that we talk about. But how can I do it? You know, university professors teach and do research. But in my understanding, it should end up with something I call developing standards so that people can live better. And a standard is something that makes us do less mistakes. For example, when you have a meter that is 100 centimeters, it should be everywhere 100 centimeters. Anywhere. Day, night, in Japan, here now in Erbil. It doesn't make sense, as sometimes it has happened probably with you, when you go to the bazaar and buy a piece of clothes and then the salesman tells you, this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. You kind of become skeptic. Was it 100 centimeters every time, or was it 96 centimeters probably, and in the second case, 95? So standards are very necessary for us to develop in our life and know how we're going about issues that has to do with our daily life and with critical decisions in our life as well. So understanding concepts, words, rules are necessary for us. We shouldn't just take things by granted and guess things. And let me share with you a story of mine here shortly. Coming from words, concepts, idioms, things that we read and study in life. My name is Heja, and if I'm translating it correctly, all my life it's precious. And Heja was written by my father using the J in Latin as for the ZH sound. But in fact, I was never Heja in the places that I lived, mostly. I was born to a proud Kurdish family in Baghdad, as many others. Soon I discovered that in my circles beyond house, beyond home, I'm Heja, I'm Hethra, I'm Hethra, I'm Heza, but I'm not Heja. And it was an unpleasant feeling to me. Led me to read the first book in my life, How to Make Friends, and the first couple of pages talk about pronounce names of your surroundings and people who you know carefully and correctly. So when you don't pronounce a name or when you don't digest a word, the act that comes beyond it, the implications of that might be also incorrect. So we need to grasp words correctly, ladies and gentlemen. Concepts, phenomena, and then we can find our ex-future correctly. Let me share with you another word or idiom that honestly has always scared me. I teach, one of the things that I teach, one of the topics, courses that I teach is human resource management. And the old version of that was personnel management, developed around 1945. It started even earlier, of course. Then soon I started to discover, when I was a student, why tags on buildings, especially governmental buildings, write something else, not personnel, which is the old version of human resource management. In Baghdad, I remember when I was a student, I used to read Dhatiya, and Dhatiya comes from that self. And then soon I discovered here in Kurdistan region, which is still the case mostly, though we've changed into human resource management, tags read khoyati, that comes from kho. But the concept is personnel management. Double N-E-L. The only interpretation for that, and hopefully I'm wrong, you know, we generate arguments as university professors, and we prove either they're wrong or right, and in both ways we win. But the only interpretation is that it's been understood from early days that Iraq was developed or established, that it's personal. This is why, even if you look at the functions of this discipline, it's limited to an archive, simplified archive, your name, date of birth, when did you graduate, how many years you have experience, and what raises you have on your salary, and a couple of others, and stop. But this is not personnel management, even in its old version. What does this mean? If I subtract 2019 from 1945, I get how many years falling behind? 74, something like that? 74 years falling behind for misunderstanding a concept in developing human resources. How much could have we done in health, in water and sanitation, in policies development, and then using the manpower in the right way? What else? Let's take another word, vision. I ask my students sometimes, what is meant by vision for you? The first answer will be a dream. No. Your ex-future, you need a vision for it. If you misunderstand the word vision, then you will misunderstand your ex-future. Vision is not a dream, ladies and gentlemen. Synonyms are not created in order to replace each other. They should be put in the right context. A vision is something that we visualize, we can see and work for it. A dream might be a vision. Entrepreneurship, one of the Very common concept these days, here at least, been for a while elsewhere. Think of it. On average, there's a difficulty in promoting entrepreneurship. Of course, if that's the case, if people understand entrepreneurship, and I want my future to, one of the things that I want to be successful financially. Entrepreneurship is not doing business. That's a very confined and limited understanding. It's being a risk taker. Risk-taking, ladies and gentlemen. And unless I know what it needs to be a risk taker, I cannot become an entrepreneur. So let's not misunderstand the words, like the way my name was misunderstood. To be a risk taker in certain communities, parents should be protective, yes, but should give their daughters and sons enough orientation on how to be good individuals, but also part of groups. But individualism, a margin of it is necessary for us to become risk takers. We need to be free. So now, do we do things by trial and error? Do we guess things in our life? Do we keep misunderstanding and doing mistakes under a title called trial and error for the sake of learning? And we misunderstand concepts and we lose time. That is the crucial question that we need to think of. I understand trial and error is good for a child, a 5-year-old child. In order to stand, he or she needs to fall until his or her muscles get stronger. But why a 20-year-old person needs that? Putting in mind that life expectancy in this country is 70 years. This means after 20, we have 50 years to work on. As I always say, regret is a function of ignorance. How come should I spend my 50 years of falling and raising? That could have been, yes, done at certain times of human development. But nowadays, we have other ways to do it. We need to read to subject ourselves to others' experiences and failures and successes. We need to mimic. We need to benchmark ourselves. We need to use science, as in, for example, relativity theory or probability theory. We go through lots of curriculum and courses throughout our life, but how much do we reflect on them? This is pure science when we talk about relativity theory. It says you need speed to change time, to change place. How can I use this in my life to catch the X factor? If I increase my speed, then I'm increasing my activity. If I'm increasing activity, then I'm winning time. If I win time, then I'm changing place. And if I change place, there's an opportunity for me to meet more opportunities, events. That's what probability theory is. The more you have movement, the more there's a probability for you to meet the event required. That is how I need to seek my X future. So guessing is justified, but how much? It can be relieved through education, proper education. I'm asked sometimes by the end of the program, 4 years, students sometimes ask me, "Sir, what are the things that we need to consider in order to capture our X future in the right way?" And I say, take benefit of the 50 years that you have now until our life expectancy becomes higher and higher. We work a lot on policies, health policies, and so. So meanwhile, take care of 4 things, 4 decisions. The first decision is education. Be careful with picking up your education. I'm one of the people who was distributed by the Central Bureau system. Picking up a major is not a luxury if you have the luxury of picking up a major. The way we study things differ. A lawyer thinks differently from a biologist. The ins and outs of every education shapes your way and priorities in life. It's like iOS versus Android. You sometimes feel uncomfortable with one of those as compared to the other. And studying 4, 5, 6 years after high school changes your priorities. And then sometimes, if you continue, fine. If you love it, fine. If you have passion for it, fine. That's what I'm talking about. But then some would divert and change and go to another area, which is again fine, but time. Trial and error. No. Rationality. Learning can be done in different ways. Then the second decision is a career decision. Your work. What do you do for a living? The first decision chases you sometimes. What you study chases you for what you are doing in your life. If you like what you study, you will like your job. And the opposite is most of the times true. You have to work in something that becomes your career dream, not just a job. And you should be fit to it, and it should be fit to you as well, so that you excel and you reach your future ASPA. The third decision is the human relations decision. How much do we invest in our relations with people, and do we make the right choices? The emotional investment is necessary. It could drain us, it could motivate us and build us. Your friends, your partner in life, your co-workers, how much close and far do you decide in making those decisions? It plays a big role in the future of yours. Fourth decision is location. Crucial one. We change sometimes places and we think we're the same people. The second you change your place, your mental, psychological clock starts to tick and you become somebody else, which is good, fine, if you're aware of it. But you're not the same person before, so you need to understand how to deal with the same new person now. And not to regret again, takes you 10 years, for example, to come back. You don't have those 10 years in certain contexts where life expectancy is lower than others. 5 things we need to remember now. Who are we? What education do we need to seek? What job to turn into a career life? And who do we invest our emotions and relations with mostly, correctly? And where do we live? The place, the context, the location. Finally, I quote by saying, be the superhuman being of yourself, not the test experiment of someone else's lab. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you best of luck in your decisions in life and in finding your future. Thank you.